Hey, good morning, everyone. So what am I working on now? Well, I have this Chevy Malibu here that got towed in. I don't know what year it is, 2008, 9, 10, something like that. The only information I got was it was towed in, doesn't start. I don't know if it's a no crank, no start. I don't know if the battery's dead. I have no idea. So let's find out what we got. So here's the car right here. Just a plain Jane Malibu. Like I said, I have no idea what year it is. Let's see. It is an 09. Okay, so I was close. Let me move the seat back a little bit. Hang on one second. I always like to make a little room for myself. Let's see what we got. We have battery power. We have lights. We got nothing. We have either a bad... See how everything goes dead? And I hear it click. So either we have a bad battery or we have a bad connection. So let's open up the hood and let's see what we got. Got a hood release underneath here somewhere. Oh, sorry, I had the camera. The release is here. All right. One thing I don't like doing is when I leave keys in the car, I don't like either latching the door or having, basically I don't like latching the door because God forbid you do something with the battery, like disconnect it or you do something, and next thing you know, it triggers something and it'll lock the doors and you lock the keys in it. So if I can roll the window down, I will, or I'll take the keys out of the car, or I won't close the door. So let's get the hood open. And I have a release here somewhere. I might have to put the camera down for a second. And of course, like every single car that I get to nowadays, the hood prop's dead and it won't hold the hood open. What's cheaper, a hood prop or a metal bar going across to latch the hood? That question's for the manufacturers. I would think a metal bar to hold the hood is cheaper than a hood prop. I don't know. All right, so let me get a hood prop to hold this thing up and then let's see what's going on. To me, it feels like a bad battery connection. Could just be a dead battery, but we'll find out. And the battery has a date code on the side. I don't know if you can see that. 05 of 19, so it's 3 years old, almost 4 years old now. So it's very possible because it's a die-hard silver. I think that's like the middle of the line battery, so it's possible it needs a battery. Well, we're gonna find out. Let me find a hood prop first. So now I got my trusty broom handle or shovel handle hood prop in place. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check the connections here. They look okay. They don't look terrible. So my next step is I'm gonna try jump starting this. And with the jump start, then I'll see how it actually fires off and go from there. I got the booster cables hooked up. Now the booster's not even on yet, but as you can see, it's flickering only through the video eye, through the camera eye. It doesn't flicker in real life. It's showing 12 volts, which is actually decent voltage. It's not what it's supposed to be. It should be 12.6 at a minimum. Not at a minimum, I shouldn't say that, but it should be 12.6. So now when I turn this on, now it's actually putting power to that. I wonder if this thing's going to start then. I still think it's a bad connection. I could be wrong. Let's find out. Yeah, it's a bad connection. Because that thing should have done something. So the fact that it's not doing anything there. So, okay, so now how do I know? Is it on a negative side or a positive side? Although I'm going to fix both. Let's find out. I'll hook that to a ground there somewhere. Let's see if that does anything. Nothing. I mean, unless it's a bad starter. I guess that's always possible. It's just the fact that everything goes dead for a moment. Kind of throws me. Let's go back here. Now, can I even reach a terminal? I can here. I don't want to condemn a starter just yet. And like I said, it could be a starter, but I just don't want to condemn one just yet. Okay, so I'm going right there. Well, I guess maybe it could be a starter. All right, what I'm going to do first, though, in all honesty, I'm going to take the battery terminals off. I'm just going to clean the terminals. I just want to verify that that's okay. It's just something about it. Like I said, could just be the terminals. I just noticed one thing. That's the coolant bottle. There's nothing in it. Why is there nothing in it? The plot thickens. Let me look a little further into this. I've decided I'm going to get this thing in the shop because I want to put this thing up in the air. I want to make sure the motor's not locked up. That no antifreeze kind of concerns me. And the other thing that I noticed that kind of concerns me, not that it concerns me, but it's just of note. If you look down here on the motor, see that painted mark right there? See that little divot down there? That's a junkyard engine. Plot thickens. So I got the Malibu inside and up on the lift, as you see right there. One thing I want to do, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to verify that the motor does turn over, make sure it's not locked up or something. Because like I said, I didn't get a full story on the car. All I got was, it won't start and it got towed in. That's it. So how did it die while driving? I didn't get any information, nothing. So I took the lower shield down. Oops. So this way I can get on the crank pulley. And what do we have? Yes, it does turn. Okay. So that's a plus, and it turns easy, so I don't have to worry about that. So now I know that I'm looking at the starter area. And as you can see, the starter's coated with oil. So there's a very good possibility it's a bad starter. Now, let me see. The trigger wire, which is right there, looks a little suspect. But let's see. I'm going to just pull the connector off and verify that everything's good there. I'm pretty sure the trigger wire is actually okay because you could hear it clicking. Now I have a test light here. I have it hooked up to the block there, to the ground, actually the oil pan, whatever you want to call it. But I want to check to see. Okay, so see that I do have power getting there. Now one thing I can do, unfortunately this size, or this style, the connector is hidden inside. What I could do is jump from here to there. Let me see if I have a jumper wire somewhere that I can use. So I did have a good heavy jumper wire in my selection. And what I'm going to do is I have it hooked up right to the trigger in the starter. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to the battery power that's at the starter and see what we have. We have smoke coming out of the starter. Could you see that? All right, we need a starter. You see the smoke? The starter shorted out from all the oil that's leaking on it. That's the problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a starter for it to verify that that fixes the problem, and we're going to tell them if you want a warranty on the starter, you've got to fix the oil leak too, because we're not going to warranty the starter with that oil leak. So let me do that. Let me get a starter on its way, and we'll go from there. So I got a starter on its way. Always disconnect the battery whenever you're doing a starter, unless maybe you have one of the early Fords that have the solenoid on the firewall that sends a signal down to the starter, so it never has power until required. Anyway, I'm going to be replacing the oil pressure sending unit, which is just above the starter there, because that's what looks like is leaking. So I'm going to pull the starter out, and I got a feeling I got a good vantage point of changing that sending unit at that point. So let's put this up in the air and let's get that unbolted. All right, so back underneath, I'm going to take that 13 out there so I can get the power wires off the starter. Then I got a 15 here, and there's a 15 kind of tucked behind the starter. Got to get that out, and then the whole starter should come clear out. I may actually spray this thing down with some brake clean, try to get some of the oil off of it. That's why I don't get filthy myself. And there you can see the connector for the sending unit. See how saturated in oil that thing is? So, all right, so let's get that off of there, and I should have the starter here any second, and then I should have the sending unit shortly thereafter. Whenever doing a job like this, if you have a bolt that's hard to get to, like this one, kind of hidden, do that one first. Don't do that one first, because then what happens is you leave that one in place, you get the other one out. This way, that one's holding the starter in place. Because otherwise, especially if you're doing this with hand tools, you'd be fighting this thing because the weight of the starter would be falling down and holding the bolt in place. So doing it this way, at least you're not fighting with it, if you understand what I'm saying. Because otherwise, with this being the last bolt, the starter would start to cock down and stuff like that, and the weight of it would be on the bolt. It just adds aggravation. So do this bolt first. Do the hard ones first. And now with both bolts out of the way, it should come right out, just like that. And there's the oil pressure switch up there. So we're going to change that. Because if you look, there's no oil anywhere else. It's just right around that thing. So I bet you it was bleeding through the connector and all over this starter. But as you see, I cleaned it, but it's soaked with oil. All right, let's get that sending unit out of there. Oil sending units use a special socket. If you look at this, this is an oil sending unit socket. It's a pretty universal design. This one's a snap-on. I've had this thing for years and years and years, but it fits right around there. Now, you got to remember something too. They make shallow ones also. See how that fits perfectly on there? You got to remember something. This is a tapered fit. I've spoken in the past about tapered fit things. So you got to make sure when you tighten this up, you don't go bananas tightening them up. And I'll explain that when I have the new one. So let me get this completely out of here. Come on. I might get some oil leaking out as possible. Let's see. There we go. Nope, I didn't. All right. So here's the sending unit. And yeah, see, it's all loaded up with oil on the inside. So, all right, so we're just waiting for the new one, and we'll go back together. So here's the new sending unit, guys. And see, it's a single wire. But I was wrong. I said it was a taper fit. This one's not. This one actually has a crush washer on it because this one basically tighten it down and let it go that way. If it had a tapered fit, you just got to be careful. You got to make sure you don't over tighten them. I actually had one time where one of the guys that worked for me, he was putting an oil pressure sending unit in an old GM Quad 4, and that's in the cylinder head, and he tightened it down too much, and the taper fitting actually cracked the cylinder head. Yeah, so that became a problem. But anyway, so let me get this on there and let's get the starter in place. Ooh, doggy, my heart stopped. Here's that new sending unit. I got it screwed in and it snapped right off. Like there was no effort involved in snapping that off of there. But look at the edge of that. There's not much to it. But luckily, because it's not a tapered fit, I actually got that out with my fingers. I just basically reached up, went and got it right out. So how tight actually did I get that? I mean, that's a manufacturing defect as far as I'm concerned. But look at the edge there. There's nothing to this. But as soon as I got that thing up there and the washer bottomed out, and I went to go just go a little snug, and it snapped right off. And I was just like, yeah. That was almost a really bad day. So now I have one coming up from the Napa store, which should be an Elgin piece. So hopefully it's better than this. I mean, I can't believe how terrible the quality is on this. This just snapped right off. I think I might actually contact Standard about this. This is just ridiculous. PS 402. So, I mean, just, wow, amazing. So, all right, so there I know my heart works because it stopped and then it started again. All right, see, things happen. But luckily, like I said, if it was a tapered fit, I mean, like I said, I put no effort into it. So even if it was a tapered fit, I should have been able to get an easy out in there and get it back out. So I'm very surprised at the quality here. All right, so let me continue. I'm just waiting for the new one to show up. All right, here's another new one. This is an Elgin, and there's a part number. So we're going to try this one, and hopefully I don't break this one. Like I said, I put no effort into it, and it snapped right off. So let's get this one in and snug down. All right, so that one's in place, and it's snugged down. So now let's clean off this wire, get that plugged in, and get the starter in, and let's see if this thing starts. All right, so everything's all hooked up there. Always catch the bottom bolt. Catch the easiest bolt first going back in. Never tighten it up. Then catch the other ones. Catch the easiest one first. And like I said, make sure it stays a little bit loose. This way you have room to move stuff around to try to catch the other bolts, because you can't even see the other bolt. So let's see. Everything's all back together. So let's let this down, hook the battery up, and see if it starts. And there we go. Battery's all connected. Everything's all hooked up. Let's see if she starts. Turn that light off right there. There we go. What is a little clattery. It's got 200,000 miles on it. So there we go. Heart attack averted, whatever you want to say. But yeah, I've never had that happen before. I've changed quite a few oil pressure sending units and switches and everything else. Never had one snap before. There was definitely something manufactured incorrectly about it because I didn't put any pressure into it. So anyway, hopefully you got something out of that. I did. High blood pressure. Anyway, hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.